What's going on, guys? Robot Me Teacher in the house, and I'm here with the GPL week number 4 Teambuilder. Your Royal Bournemouth Bombies are taking on Team Body Press and coaches Cap Guy and Agoshi. These guys are very, very interesting. We're both sitting at 2-1, however my differential is quite marginally higher. These guys are very interesting because they're super unpredictable. You never quite know what you're going to get from these guys. Who knows? The team's pretty interesting. They are missing a piece in both of their cores. There is actually no Fairy on this team, and there is also no Grass type on this team. They did have Venusaur originally. They had the whole Kanto Stardo trio line, but they actually traded that away for Umbreon, which is pretty interesting. Umbreon put in a lot of work last week. It was pretty scary. So, I gotta be straight up honest with you guys. I took my normal team building process that I've done for every other opponent so far, and I've completely thrown it out the window. Gone. We're not doing that this week. We are bringing some fire this week. Some really, really unconventional sets. Please don't try this at home if you're not experienced players. Do not look at this and think this is the way that the Draft League works. It's not. This is a lot of fun. This is going to be a very interesting game for us. So, let's break down their team and let's break down what I've brought, and we'll see what kind of shenanigans happen. So their G-Max choices, the G-Max Charizard, of course, Wildfire doing considerable damage to everything that's not a fire type each turn. Actually kind of scary. This thing does get Dragon Moves, gets Max Wormwind to hit the Goodra, gets Max Overgrowth, of course, to hit the Jellicent and things like that. It does also get an Earthquake, so it could run Max Quake for Zeraora. That's something that I would definitely expect to see coming. But yeah, this thing, pretty scary, definitely hard-hitting, definitely need to contain it, and definitely need to have answers for it, and multiple answers for it. It can be very threatening. I've got plenty of answers for Fire Flying on my team, so hopefully we can contain it, but you saw what happened with G-Max Gengar last week. Even though I contained it, still got 3 kills, so hopefully that doesn't happen again, but we shall see. Next up is one of his low-tier mons, but I think it has by far and away the best matchup on their team is a Escavalier. Escavalier, monstrous attack stat, does also get access to Body Press, does get Iron Defense as well, which can stack it up. Really solid, bulky mon, very slow though, so that could be an avenue that I look to exploit. Their team is generally outside of the Charizard, the Cinccino, and the Commoner. They are actually quite slow anyway, so that could be a threat for me. My team is naturally very fast, so that is something that we do need to watch out for. Escavalier also gets a lot of coverage moves that can hit a lot of my team, such as things like Poison Jab for Whimsicott and various other things like that. Does get Iron Head for Stab, which does hit Whimsicott also surprisingly hard. Gets Mega Horn as well. It gets a lot of coverage, so I do need to watch out for this thing. I don't want this thing setting up in my face, because it will beat me, simple as. But hopefully the team I brought will be able to catch it off guard. Next up is Commoner, of course. Commoner, a really, really interesting Pokemon, being Dragon Fighting, being Quad Weak to Fairy. Does have really good abilities in Soundproof, Bulletproof, as well as Overcoat. Typically, you see Bulletproof, because Bulletproof prevents things like Shadow Ball, which is very nice. Prevents any ballistic moves, so like Energy Ball, Shadow Ball, these kind of moves that you normally see on certain Pokemon. So it does force you to change the way you think. It could well run Roselia Berry. I wouldn't be too surprised to see that, especially with Whimsicott. I did bring a spec set last week, so I wouldn't be too surprised to see it again. So yeah, Commoner, big threat. Does get a lot of moves, can hit pretty hard. Clangrous Soul, pretty interesting new signature move for it, giving it a boost for in exchange for health. Might be risky for them to bring that, because I do have a lot of things that can hit it, so we'll see. Next up is Blastoise, of course. Blastoise getting Shell Smash this gen makes it a much bigger threat than it was before. Blastoise typically known as a bulky spinner before this gen, but now it can actually hit pretty hard. Does get coverage moves like Dark Pulse and things like that. Does get Aura Sphere as well. So it can actually hit quite a lot of my team. I do need to watch out for that. It is a good spinner though, so I wouldn't be surprised if they just bring Rapid Spin and more of a defensive set. But again, I have answers for that thing on my team. I have quite a few answers for it, actually. I do need to watch out for that thing Shell Smashing, however. Next up is Steelix. Steelix is a very interesting one. Actually a very good Trick Room abuser, so I wouldn't be too surprised to see him bring Trick Room. But yeah, Steelix, very bulky, especially on the physical side. Not so good in the special, though. But yeah, hits really hard, does get Earthquake, does get Gyro Ball, does also get Body Press. I will be interested to see if they actually bring Body Press against me. I've actually used Body Press quite a lot. They haven't actually used it much at all. So Be interesting to see if it comes. Definitely puts a lot of pressure on my team. The coverage moves it gets is actually kind of scary. Does get rocks, of course, as well, which is something else I need to watch out for. Especially if I'm switching in certain fire Pokemon, like Rapidash, for example, or things like Sigilif if I'm not running Magic Guard, which would be very ballsy, but it is possible. But yeah, pretty powerful mon, definitely. Curse setup is something I need to avoid happening as well. Next up is Umbreon. Umbreon put in a lot of work last week. I don't see it putting in as much work this week, though. It is a good bulky Wish Passer, though, so that's something I wouldn't be at all surprised to see, especially if I can wear down some of this team. I wouldn't be surprised if he Wish Passes into it. It does get decent moves like Foul Play, which can actually catch out my Orbeetle if I don't play it correctly. It can also catch out things like Magellicent. It does get decent amount of moves, but it's more of a utility mon, not really offensive. Next up, outside shot coming, I think, Rotom Wash. Rotom Wash, solid pivot, does get Hydro Pump. I don't believe it gets ice coverage anymore because of no hidden power ice. It might get Icy Wind or something like that, but yeah. Pretty interesting mod, decent pivot, does get Trick, of course. Can be Scarf to outspeed some of my team, but can't really freely Volt Switch when Zeraora is around. That's something that it needs to watch out for. But yeah, generally decent mon, kind of annoying for my team, but I think I've got enough answers for it to not be worried about it. Next up is the fastest Pokemon on this team, it's Cinccino. Cinccino, typically banded, obviously known for its Skill Link ability, does get Rock Blast, does get Bullet Seed and Tail Slap. Tail Slap actually one-shots a hell of a lot of things on this team, so I do need to watch out for that. But I do have some decent bulky answers. Unfortunately, Orbeetle can't take a Rock Blast. I did try and calc it even at Fully Fizz Death. If it's banded, Cinccino still kills it, so that's something I need to watch out for. But yeah, if Cinccino comes, I think it will be banded. I don't think he can really afford to Scarf it or anything like that, or if he Life Orbs it. I don't think he's going to get the value out of it on that. I do have Pokemon that are naturally faster than it, so I wouldn't be somewhat surprised if he does go for like a Skill Link type set. I don't think Cinccino comes, but if it does, I have enough answers for it. Next up is Claydol. Claydol, a Rock Setter as well as a Trick Room Setter, so it's actually a very important piece of his team. I'm not entirely sure it comes. It could come, but I feel like if you want a Rock Setter on your team, I feel like Steelix is the better option. So I would be very surprised to see Claydol. But if it does come, could be scary, does get decent coverage moves, but I do have things like Jellicent and Whimsicott that can take it on relatively well, so I would be very surprised to see it. But it exists, it's something I need to be aware of. And last but by no means least is Pyukumuku. Really interesting Pokemon, does get Soak, Toxic, and Recover, so it can actually be kind of obnoxious. So that's something I do need to be careful with, but I don't see it really coming. I think it's too easy to play around. It's fairly easy to set up on it. Yes, it does have Unaware, but it doesn't matter. Once it's Toxic, it's kind of semi-useless. If it's Unaware, it's not in, it's out, so I can actually just murder it anyway. But yeah, I'm not sure. I don't think Pyukumuku really has a good matchup this week. But if it does come, sure, I have answers for it. Alright, so let's start talking about my team. Let's talk about the shenanigans we are bringing. So, first up is going to, of course, be Zeraora, but not the Zeraora as we know it. Of course, all three of the previous weeks I brought physical Zeraora. This week we're actually bringing special. And part of the reason for that is a lot of his bulk is physically bulky, especially when you look at things like the Umbreon, the Snorlax, and even the kind of the Blastoise. In some respects, Escavalier is better physically bulky as well as special bulk. It does have decent enough special bulk as well. Aurasphere actually hits the majority of those things. Snarl is kind of sneaky, especially if he's bringing like Special Zard with Solar Beam. Snarl can reduce it. Thunderbolt is there, of course, to hit a lot of this team. Grass Knot can kind of be slightly sneaky. It's there for the Claydol mostly. Does guarantee two-shot it with that choice specs. And he doesn't actually kill me with enough power unless he's offensive, so that's something to bear in mind. I can Snarl into Grass Knot and kill the Claydol even if it's fully Spadef, so definitely hard hitting, definitely scary. I was trying to fit Volt Switch on his team, but I felt like I couldn't really put it on. I would have dropped Grass Knot for it, but in case Claydol comes, want to make sure that I've got something to hit it so he doesn't get a free switch. But yeah, this thing, pretty scary. The Speedy Bees is enough speed to outspeed a banded Cinccino. It doesn't outspeed Scarf, but I don't think he brings Scarf anyway. But it's there to outspeed the Cinccino. Aurasphere guarantee kills it, so that is what we are looking for here with our Zeraora. Next up on the team is going to be Pringles, the Jellicent. We're actually taking a bit of a risk with our Jellicent this week because you'd probably would forgive me for running Water Absorb because of Roto Wash. We're not, though. We're running Curse Body. This set is actually kind of sneaky. This can actually put in quite a bit of work against his team. Strength Sap can kind of ruin a lot of his physical attackers. Scald is there to burn some of his physical attackers. Dazzling Gleam is there for Komodo. And Recover just to give me a lot of longevity. Running fully physically bulky, this is largely due to taking on things like the Steelix. I can be switching on a body press quite happily. It won't do anything to me because I'm a ghost type. If I get a Skull Burn, it'll be nice. If I can Strength Sap, lower its attack, get my health back. Recover is actually kind of nice because it means I don't have to rely on Strength Sap. I can just recover on the special attackers as well. So this thing can be really annoying. Decent pivot. Running a Bold Nature, of course, as much physical defense as possible. Debated putting a bit in Spadaf, but I didn't think I needed it because of certain other members of my team. So, yeah. This thing, pretty bulky, kind of annoying. We'll see if he can break through it. Speaking of annoying, this is exactly one of the types of sets that I don't think people should run, but I'm doing it because I think it's funny. We are running a no attacking moves, fully physically defensive Prankster Whimsicott with Subseed, Protect, and Defog. I debated on putting Toxic on this instead of Defog, but in case he gets Rocks up, which he might well do, Defog is kind of nice, especially if I can Defog behind a sub. That'll definitely help us out a little bit. Protect is kind of nice, gives us a little bit more recovery with that leftovers, but yeah. Hopefully, he doesn't bring a taunt user. Things like the Komodo does get taunt. I believe the Umbreon and the Claydol also get taunt. Pukimunku might get it, but I'm not too sure about that. But yeah, this set's going to be annoying. It's going to be there to stall out. If I can keep setting up subs and leech seeds, then I actually recover the same health back that the sub costs. Leftovers is very nice for that, and Protect gives us the guarantee of getting that recovery. So this thing can kind of sit in for days. Do need to watch out for Blastoise packing Ice Beam. That is something I do expect to come, but I have answers for Blastoise on this team anyway, so I'm not too concerned. Next up is going to be the kill leader on my team right now, which is G-Max or Beetle. Of course, shoutouts to Arcade Link. Running heavy duty boots as always, because I need this thing to switch in even when Rocks is up. We are bringing Body Press against Team Body Press, which is pretty funny. He doesn't actually have a Ghost type on his team, so Body Press actually hits everything. Psychic is kind of nice. Psychic gives me the G-Max Gravitas, of course. It does allow me to hit things like the Komodo relatively hard. Now, the surprising move might be for you there is Solar Beam. Max Overgrowth actually does a hell of a lot to things like the Pukimuku, the Blastoise, and the Claydol. So if I can get this thing set up and get the Max Overgrowth off, we're in a pretty good spot here. I was trying to see if I can fit Calm Mind on this set, but I kind of needed the Psychic for the Gravitas damage. But yeah, this thing's job can be bulky, can definitely set up. Iron Defense Body Press just ruins a lot of this team, so that's what we're going to be aiming for with the Orbeetle. He might think I'm bringing webs, but there's no point for me bringing webs because my team's faster anyway. So the only way webs would actually be of any use is if he bounced it back on me with something like Magikarp. But yeah, not really going to see that coming. Next up is going to be Warm Blood the Rapidash, running a rather unusual Rapidash set because we're actually not running any speed, which is something that normally Rapidash runs max speed, but with this one, with the Choice Scarf, I actually outspeed Bandit Cinccino, so I didn't need the speed at all, so I can run full attack. Flare Blitz, Play Rough, Wild Charge actually hits the majority of this team for super effective damage, and if he tries switching in something like the Steelix, which I don't hit that hard, I can drive Baton Pass out into something else on my team, like my Jellicent, like my Whimsicott, that can kind of sit in on the Steelix whenever it wants. So, pretty interesting, mon. Physical Scarf, definitely pretty hard-hitting mon. I was looking for Mega Horn maybe for the Umbreon, but Play Rough does just about as much anyway, so not a huge deal. Play Rough, of course, hits the Komodo. Flare Blitz hits a lot of this team. Wild Charge is there for Charizard, of course, as well as the Blastoise, which are very likely switch-ins. I'm debating on putting Flash Fire instead of Flame Body, but I feel like Flame Body might be okay, especially for something like the Escavalier. So yeah, definitely interesting. I feel like Flash Fire may be better. I'll let you know in the battle if I actually change this to Flash Fire. But yeah, either way, Rapidash, pretty much fast breaker, which is pretty much what it was last week, but it didn't actually see the field last week. But yeah, pretty similar style, but obviously running Scarf instead of the Assault Vest I think I brought on it last week. I can't remember. But yeah, and last but by no means least is going to be Gudra. Gudra really has been putting in a lot of work for me. This season is actually second in kills for my team. We're running Assault Vest this week. This allows us to take hits from the Blastoise even post the Shell Smash and KO it with Power Whip. Definitely does a lot. Rock Slide is there, of course, for Charizard. Flamethrower is there for the Escavalier. And Dragon Pulse is nicely there for the Komodo. So, pretty solid moves. These coverage moves actually hit the majority of this team. The only thing I don't really hit that hard is the Umbreon. But that's fine. I don't need to worry too much about Umbreon with Gudra anyway, because I have other things that can set up on it all day. So, no big deal. But yeah, running the Quiet Nature. This is just in case he brings any sort of Trick Room shenanigans. This does allow us to underspeed a couple of his mons. But yeah, pretty solid mon in general, pretty solid team in general. I feel like we can do a lot here with this team. The GUI is actually sneaky because I can lower some of the speeds, do actually naturally outspeed Gudra. So yeah, could be sneaky, could be worth it, might not be, but we'll see. This team's pretty spicy, it's pretty fire. I don't think any prep in the world for those guys is going to be able to match this, but we will see. But yeah, that's going to be our team, so I'm going to get on out of here, and thank you so much for watching. My name is Rybombi Teacher. I'm your coach of the Royal Bomber from Bombies. Stay safe, stay awesome, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care.